Hello and welcome to the FSF Podcast. I am Tim, I'm your host, and this is the show that is made by nerds for nerds. Ben and I are very excited today to welcome our guest, who is a 3-time Annie-nominated voice actress that you've heard in, and so many shows from your childhood, animated shows, movies over the years, such as Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Jimmy Neutron, Space Jam, Fanboy, and Chum Chum. Codename Kids Next. I could keep going. Honestly, her list on IMDb is freaking amazing. Impressive, to say the least. I am so very excited, honestly excited to welcome Candi Milo.
Hello.
The FSF Podcast.
I love that. I'm so happy to be here. I was waiting for the canned applause. I grew up with a stand-up for a father, and his greatest acquisition was that we used to have a joke shop in San Jose, California, and he bought a drum machine where it had 3 little buttons on the top. And so whenever he'd make a joke, he'd just it would either be a rim shot, or it would be like conga, or it would be just like a Louis Prima kind of thing. So I usually hold for fake applause, like welcome to my life and all the reasons I live alone. Thank you.
Nice. Well, fortunately, we have a producer who likes to play with buttons and add things. So there's a good chance that by the time this airs, he will have edited those in. Just for you, I'm sure.
Oh, God, I would love that. That would be awesome.
So, John, you have your assignment.
This is going to be the most heavily edited episode, and it's just drum riffs randomly throughout the thing, random applause. It's going to be great.
At the end of every question we ask her, it's going to be like...
Yay!
I will say that is like peak dad jokes.
Right?
You have a pun button, basically.
Yeah, like my dad was a brilliant comic. Like he was really funny. And he was also a singer. And he was, he did nightclubs back in the day until television came. And then nobody went to nightclubs. That's when Vegas was born. So that the nightclub performers could go to Vegas and do their club acts for millions of dollars, which he was always in the smaller clubs. And later in life, he went into a completely other business. And but he couldn't leave the limelight because once you're bit, you're bit.
Right.
And so this was his proudest, that and the mummy hand coming out and taking a coin. And then, I'm the nerdiest girl you could have ever had on this because I used to think that was hilarious. And my favorite thing was we used to do it with pennies and the hand, like you'd put it there and you'd push the button and the hand would come up and come out and take the penny and put it in the bank. And we used to come and do it until my dad said that if he opened it, he had to unscrew it and he couldn't get it out. And I was like, so I just paid you to laugh a little bit? And he was like, yes, I am a professional comedian. You paid me a penny for this joke. And then my sister and I made him give us coins to entertain ourselves. So
I think your dad and I would have been best friends.
I can promise you would have. Promise you.
I live my life to share dad jokes with my children or anybody who will listen, really. So we're doing a dad joke thing here. So I'm going to tell you a dad joke that I just heard. And I absolutely adore this. Did you know that chickens wear shoes?
I did not know that.
Yeah, they wear Reeboks.
All right, I'm going to head out.
Why did the chicken cross the road? Because. So there's a group on TikTok that I followed, and it was like dads in a duck blind. And it was these 4 guys in camouflage, and they were duck hunting. And the thing that made me laugh the most about their videos was that they whispered because they were in a duck blind, and they would whisper these bad jokes.
Mm-hmm. I've seen those guys.
And right? I can't find them anymore. I know I've got to search them to get them in my feed, but then they would laugh quietly, but they would be completely falling out. They would be dying. And it used to come on my feed at 11 p.m. with like the music from the 70s. Not that I'm old, but music from the 70s. And these duck blind guys, and I'd be in bed, and I am a night owl. So I'd be in bed at 12:30, 1 o'clock, laughing my face off, laughing, crying, sending them to my 30-plus-year-old daughter like she's going to think that this is funny. And then I realized that she never responded to any of them. And then I asked the mom question. Are you getting the TikToks that I'm sending you? Are you getting them?
My wife and I.
Thank
Do
you.
you
Are
see
you
all the things I'm sending to you?
right? Do you see them? Because her fiance Charlie is like hilarious. Thank you, Candi. And I'm like, thank you, Gabs. Are you getting these? And that was just all I get are like memes back of like the little chihuahua with their legs crossed. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
I
I'm
love
getting
those,
none
though.
of it's funny. Also, we have the same feed because we're the same person. So I've seen them. But those guys, those dad jokes were hilarious. I just told you my chicken joke, which was a 4-year-old on a farm in Iowa. So
I saw that one. He's a cute little
he
blonde
is
kid.
as cute as heck. And he's just
Yeah.
kind of walking. He's because. All right. Now I've ruined it.
Oh,
No
you
one's going to
ruined
watch
nothing.
this now. No,
Oh,
no
that's
one-
okay. We're doing this for us at this point.
Thank you.
But there's another group. There's a because I've seen the hunting guys, but there's another group where there's these two guys and they both have beards, and only one of them has beards, but they both wear caps, and they're sitting there across from each other and they're just telling dad jokes back and forth. And they're trying to not laugh at the joke, but half the time as they're telling them, they're like, "Did you hear about the kickers with the shoes?" And I absolutely adore them, and they're fantastic.
I love that so much. That just makes me laugh thinking of that. So also on TikTok, and I am not a great poster on TikTok. I'm a great purveyor. I love it, but I love
Right.
Siegfried and Joy, like the two guys that make stuff disappear, and then the children from all over the world that copy them with the bad, like they shake it. It's the Celine Dion song that they play, and then they reveal, and the kids that do it with the baby crawling away. That was, I mean,
Right.
there's just something about stupid jokes that reminds me that these days we take ourselves so seriously. You know, I
And
just,
that's why I love them. That's why I
yes,
love them.
it's dumb. It's so
silly.
dumb.
It's silly humor that you get to unplug your brain from all the seriousness and the crap that's floating around in this world, and just have a smile and a laugh and have some fun. And
Thank
for
you.
me, that's fantastic.
And for
Which
me,
reminds me,
that's fantastic. And it's for me.
I have
and
one.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have one. No, you're fine. I was just saying I have one I'll send you later that
please do.
This whole channel, because it's just it's fantastic.
I mean,
it's two guys walking around with guitars singing to people, and they make up songs on the spot, and it's fantastic. It's wonderful.
How about the brass band that followed people jogging in the park?
Oh no!
And they played the theme from Rocky. Bum 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 bum. I'm just like I would just say, I'll repeat for you, Little Reasons I Live Alone. This stuff makes me weep with laughter. And and then the Bananaramas, or the Savannah Bananas, which are the guys that are
the baseball team.
Shush now. Like that stuff, and then so
Genius.
I grew up in the 60s, and then my teen years were in the 70s. And so again, at 11 o'clock at night, I usually every night, but really on the weekends, I get the Doobie Brothers. I grew up in Northern California. So we call that, Bay Area rock, and Janis Joplin. They'll have all this footage, and all of a sudden I'll look and think, oh my gosh, it is 2 o'clock in the morning. Go to sleep. And I thought, I can't, because I am reliving going to San Francisco and going to nightclubs to hear Boss Skaggs and like everybody's. I'd go and see the Grateful Dead and Jefferson Airplane. And then I was at the very first Day on the Green in the Oakland Coliseum. And I was so young, and it was a group of us in the theater. And I had skipped grades. So I was really young. I think I was 12. And I was on somebody's shoulder, and Fleetwood Mac came out. And I looked down at Andre, and I said, which one's Fleetwood and which one's Mac? And he just said, I just need you to watch. And please stop talking. And I was like, it's Candi with an I. Please, I'm so smart. I skipped a couple of grades, but it is still Candi with an I. I just want you to know. And he did remind me of that. On Facebook, he said, "Hi, it's Andre. Which one is Fleetwood and which one is Mac?" And I thought, it's been decades and I haven't lived that down.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, which one of you is Pink? Yeah.
Thank you. And why do they call her Pink? And why? Because I am a nerd. I need to know these things. I'm off the spectrum. And somebody said, "Are you on the spectrum?" And I'm like, I'm so on the spectrum, I'm off, folks. Believe me.
I've told people I am the spectrum. Okay.
Thank you. I just had lunch with friends and I said, the constraints of this lifetime do not apply to me. These things do not apply to me. I have had a strict, varied career that had I stuck with any facet of it, I'd probably have an EGOT, but I did not. I got bored and then just went somewhere else for 5 years. So
I have a she-got instead.
Yes, I have a she-got. She got nothing, baby.
She got nothing.
Not a damn thing. She got nothing.
Oh, I love it.
So many puns.
So many.
Unfortunately,
Use a pun, go to jail. Thank you. I'm waiting, John. You got to
John, you have your assignment. You have your
assignment.
All right, so
this is not the most pun-filled interview, though. I think we had, who was it that we just filled like the entire last 20 minutes with just puns? I don't remember.
There's a couple of them actually.
I won't do that, but if you do, I won't be able to participate. But if you do it, I will laugh. I will just sit here laughing and then have to end because I'll have to go to the bathroom, wetting my pants. So.
I do have a pun for you if you want.
Yes, please.
So I live in Alaska right now, and there's a story about a bear that managed to get onto someone's roof. And the bear was just putzing around, just moving around on the roof until it got to the skylight, and then it fell through. It wasn't load-bearing. Okay. I'm waiting for the boo to John.
Yeah, he'll handle that. You have your assignment, John.
So proud of you.
I have more. I was waiting for my moment. It's fine. But you did mention that you love really dumb questions and really ridiculous things. Most of mine are insane. So
that is great. And as will be my answers, because as you know, Tim and I are the spectrum.
There you go.
So we are, and we're not shy about it. You notice my email. I think being shy is a waste of time. Put it all out there. Nobody's buying you a birthday present. Nobody cares that deeply, right? Nobody's buying you a birthday present. Go out and let your freak flag fly, baby.
We need to get that on a t-shirt.
Yes.
Just that whole quote, just like super tiny text, just covering the entire thing.
I know a guy, so we can go right. We got.
There you go.
Tim.
That's your assignment.
Tim.
All right, so Candi, I met you in Grand Rapids, Michigan, at the Grand Rapids Comic-Con back in November.
Fun. I had so much fun at that. Nicest people on the planet. Yeah,
it's a really fun Comic-Con for people who haven't gone there before. If you're in the Michigan area or you want to make a trip to the Michigan area, Grand Rapids Comic-Con every November. It's a fantastic time.
And also it is such a beautiful city. It's
Grand
got
Rapids is
that
great.
Historic downtown with those beautiful buildings. It's super neat. I had a great time. So I interrupted you when you were being so gracious. Go ahead.
Oh, you're absolutely fine. And so you'd given me an email address to reach out to you, and I lost it because that's what I do. I lose things. And then I found it.
Yay!
Because that's what I do. I find things. And so I reached out to you. You said yes. And so I'm so glad to have you here because I told you all that so we could get to this point where I could say, we're nerds. We love nerds. And one of the things about being nerds is that we love a good origin story. And although you kind of told us a little bit of your origin, what is the thing that, you look at it back and you go, that's why I decided I wanted to do what I'm doing. What was the influence for you that said, hey, Candi, this is what you want to do in life?
I think, guys, that I have sort of an anti-origin story. Just hear me out.
Do it.
I've always wanted to be a performer. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area in San Jose, and there was a wonderful theater group where a lot of Broadway stars came out of, and that's San Jose Children's Music Theater, and now it's just called CMT, Children's Music Theater, and it was just a great experience run by a young guy that was like 17 or 18, and he just knew how to do it. And I always wanted to sing and be in theater and do television. And when I came to LA, I came to LA very young at 18. And in college, I was lucky enough to get into the University of Santa Clara as a pre-law major. Yeah, well, wait, welcome. Like that was my father's like, we got one in the family. And I quickly said, I believe the words I used were, oh, hell no, I'm not doing this. So I moved to LA eventually. And I was being what they call in the industry hip pocketed. And I was being hip pocketed by an agent named Aaron Cohen. And he was with William Morris at the time, which was a huge, prestigious agency. And he was just helping me, but he wouldn't sign me. And all the people that worked around Aaron, we are all still friends today. And this is, in the real early to mid 80s, like we were just hanging around. And sadly, he passed away during the AIDS epidemic. And so we threw him a party at this nightclub called Carlos and Charlie's. And I sang and did a little bit of stand up, and I used to do characters. And just so your listeners, watchers, your patrons understand, I have tested twice for Mad TV, and I tested for Saturday Night Live, and I got way down to the end for In Living Color. I've always wanted to do sketch comedy. Lorraine Newman is my god. I just really wanted to do that. And so we're all sobbing at Aaron's memorial. And this woman walks up to me, and she's an agent. And she said, I think Aaron would want me to help you. And I was his assistant. She hands me her card, and I don't look at it. And I say, thank you. And it was so great. And her name was Nina. And I get in my car and I look at the card, and it says animation and commercials. And I'm thinking, Aaron was trying to get me a record deal. Like he was trying to get me big things, opening in Vegas and doing, like, I want to be a singer. I want to be on stage. I want to be in theater. I want to be on Broadway. This is not it. So I tore it up. Well, in the 80s, there was this little thing called the White Pages. And Nina looked me up and called me and said, I see that you live right down the street, which I did. I had a little teeny apartment in Beverly Hills, and I walked down and I auditioned for 3 things. Dentine Gum, Perkins Restaurants, and Tiny Toon Adventures. And I got all 3. And I just didn't want to do it. I did the Dentine Gum, which was great, paid a lot of bills, did the, and at that time, to make a living, I was an aerobics instructor. Kill me. And then I got the Perkins Restaurant, which was the voice for television. So it was a completely different contract. And then I got a call back for Tiny Toons. And I had said, because I was so grand at 24, so very, very grand at 24, 25, that I didn't want to be in cartoons because that's where real actors went to die. And I just didn't want to do it. And so I wore a ball gown that I got from a thrift store, and then high topper camouflage army boots, like Converse, not army boots, but they look like army. And I went to Hanna-Barbera, where the Fred Flintstone mobile car was in the thing. And I thought, well, this is kind of cool. I don't want to be here. Parked on the street, got a parking ticket, walked across the street, went in, sat in the hard chairs that looked like stone, but they were soft. It was really amazing. Auditioned. And for the callback, we were to bring a children's story. And my children's story was the Big Bad Wolf and the 3 Little Pigs. And I decided to make the pigs suicidal and the wolf kosher. And I didn't read a book. I did it off the top of my head. And all 3 of the pigs had different voices. And I'm telling you, boys, as God is my judge, I just started to channel. And I did the wolf like this, and I did Clarence that sounded like this, and I did this things, and then they had me read for these 3 parts. And when you're in a recording studio, the Hanna-Barbera studio was huge. I believe it was Studio A. It was gigantic, and then people sat behind the glass. And so I said, okay, that was really great. And the voice director came out and said, that's really good. We're going to bring you back one more time. And we kind of want you to do the same thing. And I don't know if we went to another studio or if we went to Universal, because that's where Steven Spielberg, who produced it, Steven Spielberg presents Tiny Toon Adventures, where he had an office. So I did my same thing, changed the names, changed up the voices a little bit. And as I'm leaving, not in a ball gown, I'm in a normal outfit, Steven Spielberg comes out of the booth and says, you should do this. You're very good at this. You should do this. And I, of course, looked right at him and said, do people tell you look like Steven Spielberg? And he just said, yes, and walked back in his door and walked back in, and that was it. But, you know, I
didn't know that he was, wow.
Yeah. So I wasn't slapped, which was good. That was all a good thing. But I think, but you know, Steven loves actors. So I think he knew I was super nervous and I was really funny and just like very bubbly. And I booked it. And I had booked 3 roles on that. And through the course of like stuff, I got into the room and I was in the back with Don Messick, the great Don Messick. Rob Paulson was on my other side, Don Messick, Frank Welker. And Frank was the one who showed me how you move your papers and how you're quiet and you don't laugh on a take. Everybody's mics are open. They don't, because we were a huge cast. And I finished that, and it was, I got into my car and looked down and said, I'm home. This is the easiest thing I've ever done. I had never done it before, but I was on par with everybody else. You had a lot of new people in the room, but you had a lot of old timers, but everybody was so warm and welcoming. And that's what I said. It was a group of people I liked. It was a talent level that I liked. It involved singing, comedy, and acting all at once. And I didn't have to be in Vegas, which was a good thing. And that was when I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And yes, I dipped out and auditioned for other things. And I've done a ton of commercials, probably over 100 on-camera commercials, plus another 25, 30 on radio. And I think I'm just really good at making 30-second movies or being it. And then I'm like, I got to take a nap and do some online shopping. Let's just get this in the bag. I don't want to see any of you tomorrow. Let's wrap this up. So I think that was it, guys. I think that was the moment where I went, well, I'm not going to be opening for like Sergio Mendes, dude. It's over. I'm just going to be in this room making friends for life. And that's what it was. And it was, I think we started recording in 1988 and then we were online and I think we were airing in 1989 and 1990. Crazy.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
And it's the truth.
And you no longer have to do aerobics. So there you go.
I no longer, and I will tell you, for a long time, I heard this, and I was like, 4 more, 3 more. I could be in a grocery store, 2 more, 1 more. Can you reach high, ladies? Reach high, reach high. I'm actually in really good shape. I don't need to be doing this. You need to reach higher than I do and cross those arms. Thank you. I know it was, I didn't have to do aerobics or look at people who wanted me to work out hard so they could feel
right. Yeah.
Me.
Oh boy.
That's great.
It was good.
Well, that was fantastic. And with all that lovely origin story and everything you were talking about, kind of just like diving into the voices, this does bring up another question we usually ask voice actors of, you voice so many different characters. What is the process to become one of those characters? Do you just dive bomb into it, or do you have to like get into character, or what do you do?
That's a really good question, Ben. For me, the script already has the job. So I look at the script really hard. I look at the script before I look at the renderings. And many times, especially these days, and especially with video games, they don't send real renderings. And for video games now, they don't even send the real script because there's so much being stolen and being copied.
Sure.
But for animation and traditional animation, I read the script and I hear it, and I hear the other. And this is on unproduced stuff. I hear how my character should talk, but more than that, I hear the voices of the other characters. I hear how they would normally deliver that line. And I think it's growing up in a comedic family and growing up very free, or as I like to say, feral. I was a feral child. I'll explain more later. But it was one of those where I think that the script speaks to me. And once I have the script down and I've got my timing where I think where the joke is within the line, what do I think the beats on the sheet are? Where's the beginning, middle, and end of this? What's the scene about? What's my goal? What's my position? What am I auditioning for? The main character? Am I auditioning for the sidekick? Am I anthropomorphic? Am I like, because I do the flea from Lucha Lucha. He is a flea.
I'm so happy you brought up the flea.
Love the flea. He is one of my favorite. And then Cheese in Foster's Home. Those are my two hit picks. So I look at that, and then I look at the drawing, and I dare the drawing to call me a liar. And it's very rare if I look at it, I think, because I think there's a certain style of writing for animators. I do know a lot of animators. I do know a lot of television writers who are now producing animation. And I kind of get, what I'm looking for is, what's my audience? Is it adults, teens, kids, littles? Like, where are we? And then I do that. And then I look at the drawing, and then I let it speak. And I always do my homework outside of the booth, which is where I am now. This is my little recording booth. I always do that so that when I come in here, this little closet is only fun. This is only creativity. My mic is right here. This place is only where I create and make myself laugh. But last night I had an audition for a lunch lady and a teen boy. But it was, I didn't know if it was prime time or not. I had to look everything up. And my feeling was, and maybe I'm getting into my head a little bit, but my feeling was probably going to get the lunch lady, because I'm now hitting an age and a voice timbre where that's like, there's second nature for me to do something like this and become the lunch lady. It's very grounded. It's very much like whatever, Selma Diamond from Night Court. I'm fine. No, really, I'm fine. Yeah. And then there was like a teen boy that sounded like this. And I thought, I couldn't resonate to the dialogue for the lunch lady, but could resonate for the dialogue for the boy, but the voice was better for the lunch lady. And I was like, so when my agent said, how did you do? And I went, it's going to be a toss up. I don't think this is going to be a callback for me, because it was disparate. Like, I didn't walk out of there going,
sure, yeah.
Like, no, I was like,
nailed it.
I nailed the dialogue for the boy. I nailed the voice for the lunch lady, and it fit. But I found myself, guys, like doing 5 takes and then cobbling and saying, I just can't get in to this woman, but the voice is so good. And I found like the 3 jokes that she had and laid and felt like nobody else is going to hit that word. And that's the process for me. So it's dialogue first. And I am your queen among queens that I do not ad lib. I do not ad lib until a 3rd take, because the script already has the job. And they worked hard on that, and they passed it through standards and practices. And I'm going to show the writer who I respect more than anything, especially animation writers and animators. I absolutely adore them, that I'm going to show them that I can make their work sing, that I don't need to change it. I don't need to be a stand-up. I don't need now in the third take, forget about it. Forget about it. I'm like, I am all over the place. I'm like, let me show you a day in the life using 1 page of dialogue. We have a psychotic meltdown up top. We have something grieving as if someone has passed away at the end. You're welcome. And that's kind of my process. I take it really seriously. And I also warm up vocally. I do singing warm-ups. It's just really important because you have no idea how much your creativity is limited if your voice is tight. You're just like, I can't get up as high. I can't get as low as I want. I can't do that. And it's wild. So I don't know. Isn't that, yes. Little reasons I live alone. Go ahead.
No, that's great. Your answer was a perfect lead into my next question.
Oh, I'm so happy to oblige.
That's right. You set it up perfectly because you were talking about, how you with the difference between the teenage boy and the lunch lady and trying to find your spot between them, because with all the voice actors that we've talked to, one of the biggest things that I've come to appreciate is that this is a skill, that this is something that takes dedication, it takes practice. It's but the other thing I've learned from talking to so many different voice actors is that there are certain characters that you just feel more at home with than you do others, and you kind of hit on that between the two there. You felt at home with the dialogue for the one, but at home with the voice for the other.
Yeah, and I think that. So go ahead. I know your question is there. Please go.
No, yeah. So is there a character that you have landed, that you do regularly, where you did it and it just came to you like that? Would you say, or would you say the character found you?
I will tell you, it is no secret that for the character of Dexter, for Dexter's Lab, that I replaced Christine Cavanaugh, who was a friend of mine, and we shared the same agents all across the board until she had gone somewhere else. And she was just so brilliant. And she quit and then, of course, passed away, moved far away. And in real life, she sounded like this. She had kind of a husky voice. She had a Southern accent. She talked like this. And we could imitate one another. So that was a godless, awful situation because she was so beloved on that show. And while I could get the voice, I could never get her timing. Like her timing, and my friend Jeff Glenn Bennett, who voiced Johnny Bravo, and of course the dad on Dexter's Lab, said it was like sitting in for a jazz trio. Like she had different jazz. Like she was bebop and I'm Count Basie. I'm Ella. I'm doing something very different. It still is funny. And it was hard because Gendy Tartakovsky, who is a genius, was so in love with her talent and so in love with the character. And then it was just a hard day that at one point I had to say to him, I can't let you F with my mind anymore. I am really talented. I am really freaking funny. I really am funny. And I need you to recognize that I'm not that kind of funny. I'm this kind of funny. So, part of her was that she paused in certain places and hit these odd words, and they just had the same sense of humor. So that was me being a fish out of water for 7 years. And then I really believe that Gendy just kind of walked away from it and just the writing tanked it and was just horrible writers and producers at the end. And then at home is Cheese from Foster's Home. Yeah, I like chocolate milk. Yeah, I like potatoes, but I like chocolate milk. And and the Flea, which is Cheech Marin. Yeah, the Flea cannot feel his legs. Oh, there they are. Right beside the Flea.
That is my favorite line of the Flea. Thank you so much. I'm gonna clip that and just take.
Thank you.
That's it for me now.
Message. And then lately, I have been into Granny from Looney Tunes. It's just a place where I automatically sit. And it kind of came to me. And it's been like the last 5 or 6 years that I've sort of become like a legacy voice. But I don't want to say that because they were replacing people left, right, and center. But that's been a homecoming for me because that's what I grew up on was Looney Tunes and fractured fairy tales. But June Foray was a huge part of my childhood. And those I found, but I'll share a little fun story that people may be interested in. How we worked on Foster's Home is we had our regular characters. So I was and I was Madam Foster and Blue Mac, and I was right down in here. And so they were auditioning friends, and everybody took a crack at Cheese. Everybody did. And I said, because then I look at the dialogue, and I'm looking at the dialogue, and Rain Man came into my mind. And I looked up to Lauren Faust, who is an absolute wonderful human and brilliant genius writer and animator, and Craig McCracken, who had created the Powerpuff Girls, just genius. And I said, I need to see a photo or a drawing because I'm thinking Rain Man, and I see Lauren Faust doing this in the booth. Yes, like that. So Craig, and I still have it, and if I thought I could grab it quickly, I could show you. He drew on a piece of dialogue paper, Cheese. And I was like, I like potatoes. Yeah, I have scurvy. I have pleurisy. I have dandruff. I have gingivitis. And we came and then he was the 6-year-old. He was a 6-year-old Rain Man. And that's what it was, where it was single focus. He knew everything and knew nothing all at the same time. And
that's great.
So they went around the room. And when it came to me, I started it, and everybody, Tom Kenny, Phil Lamar, Gray Griffin, like everybody went like to not laugh. And that was really it. And that was our test. One of the things I love as an aside about voice actors is that we are everybody's biggest cheerleader in the room. There's no ugliness. There's no drama. Nobody, we're reading for a living. We're reading, like there is acting, but mostly we are trying to make our compatriots laugh. And after the pandemic, it's one thing I miss the most is being in a group setting. Like I miss laughing, but that's like, once he drew it, after I saw it, I was like, I like chocolate milk. And she spelled chocolate CHOCKLIT. And I was like, I'm getting very young. I'm getting this. And then it was confirmed by the drawing. And it really, that was just such a great thing. So those characters, also being a singer and starting as a singer in musical theater. And I worked in theme parks. I worked for Disney. I worked for Marriott's in the park. Hi, welcome to the general public. And I think there's something about listening. That's what you do when you're taking audience suggestions or you're interacting with people. You're constantly watching. So it's like sketch comedy. It's why Phil Lamar is so brilliant. He was on Mad TV forever. He's so brilliant at creating characters, amazing. Yeah. But he's a brilliant listener. And you want to be in dialogue with him because he's going to play off of you. You can play off of him. And he's also so incredibly brilliant as an actor and a performer. So I think that D. Bradley Baker is another one that performed live in a park. Jeff Bennett live in a park where Marriott's, and I forget where D was, but there's something about listening and giving and taking that I think voice actors in the room is so generous about. It's really great.
Love it.
Yeah.
Those are great stories. Thank you.
But too long. Should I cut my answer?
Okay. Absolutely not.
That's why you have John. Okay, good. John's gonna edit me.
John's gonna let that go. Trust me. Okay. That's fantastic.
Good.
I guarantee at this point in the video, John's sitting there like this, just watching the interview, just like, this is great.
I'm so glad.
And then going, hi-hat. Done. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I think when you get the long-time voice actors, there's not so much a dedication to craft, and this is a craft. and it is a talent, and you got to know how to do it, and you have to know how to do it fast because time is literally money. And when animation is $1 million a minute and you're doing either 11 or 22 minutes, that's a lot of ad space they have to fill and sell.
Yeah.
But there's something that I am more dedicated to comedy. And if I can make myself laugh, that is all I care about. And what's funny is my audition was I made myself laugh with the boy, but the voice was, they're never going to hire me to play 17, dude. I'm never going to be a 17-year-old boy, no matter how much I try. But thanks for the gumball, Mickey. Damn it.
There you go.
But another audition will come tomorrow, so it'll be okay. It really will.
Exactly.
It will.
I mean, with the incredible list of characters you've played, I'd be surprised if you didn't get another interview almost immediately. But speaking of that,
go ahead. Go ahead. I was just going to say, never say that, because the pandemic was like, oh my God, I'm done. What else can I do? I don't even know how to work a cash register. I cannot sell Starbucks. I don't like people. Like I do like them when I'm on a stage and they're far away, or at a Comic-Con.
Back to aerobics. Raise your arms,
right?
ladies.
Could you imagine? I'll be like in senior citizen aerobics.
Oh God, could you imagine aerobics with like the voice of Cheese or the Flea?
Do it again. 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 Do it again.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Oh God, that's perfect.
That honestly, I would sign up for that aerobics class.
I would probably be there teaching. I'll be 75 years old and just like have a motorized scooter going around the room with like a little crop hitting people. Wrong!
Spray bottle. Do it right. I have often said that I think that the nursing homes that house voice actors and anyone from Gen X is going to be the most interesting.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Just so you know, because I think this is hilarious. So we have Steven Spielberg, Meryl Streep, and all these wonderful celebrities have refurbished and built this gigantic old folks home for actors. And there's a 20-year waiting list. Boom, boom. Because I keep thinking, if I apply now and I get in at 80, but I'm still working and still sane, do I go there to live? And then who's going to drive me to my auditions and to the gigs? So I'm like, 20-year waiting list. I remember saying to the head of SAG, how does that work? Explain it to me. How does that work? When are you going to know you're senile? Like, when do you know? Oh, it's going to be 85. So I'll wait till I'm 65.
Hey, we're dying to get in here. Whatever.
Hey, yo.
But that's the joke, is that it's a 20-year waiting list, and once you're completely senile and don't know anything, you put them in any old folks' home.
Exactly.
And say it's the Steven Spielberg one.
Let me just tell you, I just want to tell you, with my luck, I'll know. Like, I remember a doctor telling me, but I won't be able to communicate it. I remember a doctor telling me we have to lower your cholesterol, because I had gone through like a couple of years of being very sick, and I had beyond a disruption, I had a complete breakdown of my endocrine system, and it was just really awful. And my cholesterol jumped to dangerous levels, and my doctor said, we got to lower your cholesterol. And I said, oh, heart attack? And he went, no, stroke. And he said, but you're so healthy, you'll live. And I went, oh, no, that's not gonna. And he looked at me and he said, right? I was like, no, let's lower it. Let's lower all the cholesterol. I'll cut out everything. Yes, because with your luck, it'll be a completely debilitating stroke and I'll live. And I was like, yes, thank you. Yeah, that was good. And on that note, Ben, what was your question? Something funny?
Okay. Oh, I might have a little bit of. Anyway, let's take a hard turn to one side here.
Okay.
So you have been referred to as the voice of childhood by quite a few, specifically me. You've probably met several fans as well, if not hundreds, if not thousands. Have you had a fan experience that was impactful? Can you tell us a story about that a little bit?
I think one of my most impactful are the young adults that are differently enabled and communicate differently, because you can be thrown into your ticking and your stimming when your dreams come true. I'm not anybody's dream come true, but if you've come to a con and you've wanted to meet me, that to me, and you've met me and you have no dialogue, because it's beyond anything. And I had that happen with a young person who was wheelchair, because and I don't know if there was cerebral palsy. I don't want to make any assumptions on what it was, but it was pretty severe, and they became completely nonverbal. We just kind of held hands, and that was it. And the next day, their parents brought them back, and they had drawn me a composite picture with all of my characters on it, and wanted to come back a second day. So they had to buy a ticket to come back the second day, just so that he could hand me that photo. And that's the kind of, just based on my childhood and things, that's the kind of stuff that means the most to me. A big super fan moment was on my end, of course, seeing Steven Spielberg getting that sort of an epic compliment from me, and then me doing my spectrum thing where I went, do people tell you that you look like Steven Spielberg? I want you to know that I did that with Mark Hamill. Do people tell you you look like Mark Hamill? And to this day, he and I are very good friends, but I remember him answering, I have never heard that before. And I was like, no, seriously, dude, you ought to see if they need a body double. And then we have been friends since that day. It was Cartoon Network. It was some show where we were both like guest stars. And I remember doing Tiny Toons, and one of the episodes was with Vincent Price. And for your younger patrons, he was the voice in Thriller, kids. He did the voice of Thriller, but he did the Raven. And so that's what we did, the Raven, and all Sweetie Pie yelled out was nevermore. That's all I did, the entire thing. But when he walked in, he had an oxygen tank and a lit cigarette. Just let that sink in. An oxygen tank with his calendula in, and a lit cigarette. And
I'm going out my way.
Thank you. And I'm taking you with me. And he walked in, and I said, I'm going to get just a little spicy. So parents, I'm going to do a little swearing, but this is what I said. Holy shit, you're Vincent Price. And he looked at me and he went, not for long.
Not for long.
Jesus.
That's fantastic.
Ooh,
not for long.
I want you to know that he got the biggest kick out of me, and I got the biggest kick out of him. And so it is the only thing I can speak to is the young boy, and I have it on my refrigerator. And I mean, the drawings are spectacular. The drawings are spectacular. And this boy that was so within himself, that was great. But mostly it's me fangirling. It's me meeting Carol Channing and having her take her top off all the way down to her bra because it was making noise. And I was like, And it's funny because several voice actors, I know who was there because I have photos, but several voice actors have said, oh, yes, I was at this session with Carol Channing. And I was like, dude, you weren't there. It was with me because I got a photo with her top open. And it was on Two Stupid Dogs back at Hanna-Barbera. And I'm just saying that it's been a great career, but I am not comfortable with any adulation. I get very uncomfortable. I do like making people lose their mind, like young people in their 30s, like lose their mind when I will just say something like, well, thank you so very much for that. I don't understand. I just would like if you could take a few dollars off of our bill, it would be excellent. And having them go, oh my God. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fun, but mostly it's me fangirling everybody else. And Mark Hamill, for all of his Star Wars phenomena, he is such a fine actor, such a great actor, such a great actor. And it's been my distinct pleasure to work with everybody that I've worked with. They're just fantastic. Truly.
Those are great stories.
Oh, good.
I
Aren't you
love
glad
this
I'm not
story
in an
about-
old folks home and senile?
I am so glad.
Thank
I'm
you.
so
God.
glad.
We still got 20 years, you know.
I'm on a waiting list.
Get your name in.
I will say, you said 30 somethings that just explode with joy every time you and I'm just like,
Hi, that's
Hi.
me. Pick me.
hello.
Yeah,
You said one line is the flea, and I'm.
Yeah, I did. We went to lunch just before we did this podcast, and I haven't seen my two friends in way too long, since like March. And we went to a restaurant, and our waiter was adorable. And I was telling him that the business is in flux right now, but I've been a union member for 45 years. I've been a working union member for 45 years, beginning working for Disney with AGVA, which was my first performers union, all the way up to getting my SAG card in 84, 40 years ago. And I've seen the pendulum swing backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. And I just think that we're having a change. There's a reckoning. I don't think that people like Google, people like Oracle, I think the heavy betting on AI, I think the heavy betting on the cheapest way you can do it is going to explode in their faces, because people crave people, and you'll have the bottom feeders doing AI voices and giving up, and it'll all be garbage. And I think it'll take them a solid 10 years as they perfect and spend 300 million and build things in right to work states, and then it'll all come crumbling down, just like they're running out of their space. Like Google has lost all of its campuses. Facebook is tiny now. Everybody's laying everybody off. And I think, it's just a billionaire's playground. The pendulum will swing, because talent and human contact will always win out. Quote me while I'm in the retirement home.
The thing is about that whole topic is that, sure, you can mimic the voice, but you can't mimic the personality. You can't mimic the I love watching, if you have a chance to watch anybody that does any improv or anything like that, watching them feed off each other and work off each other. And AI cannot do that.
No.
And maybe at some point it can, but it's still not going to have the comedic timing. It's not going to have the snappy one-liners.
Jim, what it lacks is warmth. It lacks warmth and soul. Yeah. And soul, there's no connectivity. There's nothing that's there. They talked about this big Japanese commercial that was AI that appeared during the Olympics. It was the biggest piece of crap, because AI did it. The whole thing was AI. It was written by AI. The music was AI. The dialogue was AI. The girls that were in it were AI. It was like my brain exploded. It gave me a headache. It was 15 seconds long. They had 25 cuts. So you're like, oh my God, what is going on? And it's because they don't get it, but it cost them $1 to make it. And then that was it. They didn't use any actors. They didn't use any writers. And, I've dabbled in ChatGPT mostly for legal stuff, like what's this or that. Like I've dabbled in it, and I, it's great, but it's incomplete. And I think that there's a podcaster named Michael Cohen, who was this political guy, who said he got sued because he used ChatGPT, and ChatGPT made up the law, made it up, just made it up. Yeah, ChatGPT write a letter, and it just made it up, thinking that it was. So I said, we'll be in trouble for medical things, for technology, for how we can get water out of the earth, how we can make the planet a better place. I'm all for it. But for entertainment purposes, see you in a decade if I'm not in the home. I'm just
there are a couple posts that I've seen where it's just like someone commenting like, "Oh, I didn't believe in the human soul until I saw AI art." I'm just like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense."
Yeah.
But also the fact that like the Google AI with their overview and whatnot, weren't they telling someone to add glue to like pizza sauce to thicken it up or something like that?
Yep.
Because someone made a joke about that on Tumblr 13 years ago.
Yep.
I mean,
and I will say on Facebook,
you're gonna do it. Elmer's is the way to go.
yeah. But do you remember on Facebook when you would take those quizzes? I would scream at people, stop taking the quizzes. They're memorizing. And
Yeah,
this
you're
is going to
feeding
be
AI.
AI. They're memorizing how you think. They're memorizing. And so, do you know who took those quizzes? Morons. So that's why AI, I'm like, you're not getting the cream of the crop. And I want to tell your younger people who are aspiring to be voice actors and aspiring to act, to sing, to dance, do it. It will all, the pendulum will swing back. I promise you, I've been around a long time, folks.
So now, basically, AI is Bill Murray's character from Caddyshack. How's it going?
Is it we got a third hole here, ladies, swinging the boat.
I'm gonna put the
I mean,
over there.
Even that takes talent, though.
Right. And you know, he ad-libbed that whole thing.
Yes.
He ad-libbed the entire thing. It was not, and he was only supposed to be in one scene.
But he's Bill Murray, so.
But it's also how fucking funny. Like that's what it is. It's the human thing where everybody laughed, and it was a good day at the races. It's a very good day.
Oh boy.
I mess up.
Usually that's me who keeps going. I lost my place.
I mess up all the time. That's not really a problem. That's I'm usually the one that by this point I have had at least 3 raspberries. I go, right. That's stupid. Let's try that again. So
right.
All right. So honestly and legitimately, Candi, I was today years old when I realized that you are also a writer and that you have a book out there. I did not know that. I was looking at some other stuff about you, and I don't even, it wasn't, when I did the Google search, it wasn't high enough up in the order of the things about you. And it was like I saw it on a link about a link about a link about you, and I'm like, wait, what? Did I miss something?
It was a very, so here's what's happening. I wrote a memoir about my childhood. Yeah. So you've heard about my dad. And in 1969, about 5 years after he had been on the road with Louis Armstrong, being a comic / singer / whatever you needed, he quit show business completely and opened California's very first house for the mentally ill, which is what they were called. It wasn't developmentally disabled. That didn't happen until 2013. They were called the people who were in asylums and institutions. And what had happened was the governor at the time had closed them all in California for family responsibility. And my father opened a home called Milo Arms. I was 8 years old, and he didn't get us a separate house. So I lived in the home with 12 adults, several Jesuses, a couple of Mahatma Gandhis, the Queen of England.
You gotta have them all.
And that was my childhood. The funny part of my memoir is not our residence. The funny part of my memoir is that they gave those people to us to take care of and show what was normal. That's the gist of my book. But I had some really bad representation, some very not criminal, that's like going too far, but some really phony, fake. And it was actually discovered or pointed out to me by my publicist that the person that was leading the charge with my book had no idea what she was doing and that everything she said was a lie and it was all fake. And so I pulled it from the publisher, and which was fine, but this woman who was my manager gave them rights across the board to stand up, to animation, to television and film. And she kept saying, this is really standard. And So it cost me thousands of dollars to get my rights back. And I am republishing with Rare Bird Lit
Nice.
and Unnamed, two freaking great sweetheart guys that are here in Los Angeles. They get it. They do a lot of socially active books and books about kind of LA stories, but they really resonated. And I am in the process right now of being re-edited. I've added 3 chapters. I found new photos.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and we are thinking, for legal reasons, we might need to change the title. And I had a working title called Halfway Home. The fine line between laughter and lithium was underneath that. And it is just my story about how I came to understand what actually my dad was trying to do and how he was being thwarted by the NIMBY, not in my backyard group, and how he was a staunch Republican, but we were so socially Democrat. And my dad would be rolling in his grave right now if he heard me calling him, because he took care of those that no one wanted. No families came for the people that we got. We got the end of the barrel. And my dad got the worst of that because he wasn't a doctor. But they gave 12 adults to a stand-up comic who had a drum machine. We lived in a converted fraternity house that had lost its charter. So it had a PA system. My dad would do a show before each meal. No, I just want you to know I've never had a slumber party.
I love that. That's fantastic.
It was a great experience for me. And I wanted to write the book because I wanted people to know that when they look at someone that has had unfortunate luck or things haven't worked out and they're on the streets or they're in a tent, rather than say, you deserve it, you're a welfare queen, you're a drug addict, you're an alcoholic, you need to say, there but for the grace of Milo arms go I. Like you had a family, you had somebody to catch you when you were falling, and these people didn't have anybody. So that's kind of it. That's my big plug. I don't think we're going to re-release until January. The first book was kind of rushed, but I am a writer. I absolutely freaking love it. I love the process. I have 2 other books in the offing. One is Love in the Time of Klonopin, in case you'd like to hear about my love life. And Klonopin, by the way, is an antipsychotic drug, which I didn't take, but I was around a lot of people who did. And then another book called I Should Be Dead by Now, which is talking about my career in LA, how I came here at 18 and I lived above a recording studio in LA and cleaned studios at night for free rent. I should be dead by now. I could be in that home in 20 years. I could be there.
I love it.
But that is me. I'm still doing voices. I'm still auditioning. I just auditioned last night. Did okay. When people are like, sometimes, Ben and Tim, when people tell you, it's closed, you can't get in. Let me tell you something. If I have to audition, you can get in. Because they know where to find me. Everybody knows who my agent is. They know where I'm represented. They know me. They don't want me. I need to show them that they want me. I didn't last night, but on something else, I will. And I've had a grand old time, guys. I have the best memories. I have the greatest stories, and I laugh every day. I talk a lot, but that's okay.
Well, we love that you talk a lot.
It is also kind of your job to do that.
Yes.
I do have a quick question about your dad, though. Now that I know that there was a PA system and he would do a little show before dinner.
Oh boy.
Please tell me he asked Jesus to pass the bread.
I was going to make
I just want you to know that we had to take it out of the book, but when my father died, right before he died, he reminded me of a story. So I made my Holy Communion and we did all the kind of ethnic Catholic shit very late because my dad was a stand-up. So, he was like the church, whatever, him and his scars. And he was from the Bronx, so he was having none of it. And I remember we looked in, and my dad told me this on his deathbed. Remember that day? I was like, oh my God, how badly are you going to embarrass me? Remember that day, Candela, that we were in that St. Patrick's fucking cathedral, and we looked around and Michael walked in. So Michael had taken his bed sheets, fashioned it into a toga like Jesus, had taken a cardboard box and put pipe cleaners and put it around so he looked like he was wearing a cross made out of cardboard, and had lifesavers taped to the palms of his hands, and walked into the church, like walked with his hands going in and out. And I said, oh my God. And he said, do you remember when I told Michael to get the F out of here? He looked at me and he said, right away, Mr. Milo, and then took one of the lifesavers and ripped it off his hand and put it in his mouth and walked out. I have never had a slumber party. And I want you to know that but my dad used to do a thing where he'd go, ladies and gentlemen, on the Lido deck, we're serving. And then he'd do the menu and he'd say, you've got 5 minutes to come downstairs. And then he'd go, but in the meanwhile, like Spike Jones is playing in the background on a hi-fi, and this is in his office. And I just was like, so my life was never about how odd and how horrible and how weird anybody else was. It was, how could they give 12 adults to us? Like I was to us. I'm 8. I am breaking up fights. I'm 8 years old. And he ran that house from 1969 to 1984 when he had a massive coronary, trying to put it all back together. He had retired and he just missed his army of misfits, and he got it back together, and he had a massive coronary while on a tall ladder and fell, and it was horrible, but has survived long enough to remind me of Michael. Walking down, blessing people, but you could bend the cardboard. So his arms came in, and he had split the cardboard in the back so that he could walk.
That's honestly, it's kind of genius. It really is.
A solid 3/4 of a mile from our house to the church.
Oh boy.
I did Hello Dolly in high school. I was a freshman, played Dolly. I look out, my teacher comes back and says, okay, cast, I want you to know that in the front row are 7 mentally challenged adults. And all I could think of was, I am going to kill my father. He had put them all in the front row, wait for it, and taught them the overture to Brigadoon. So when the little small out of tune orchestra started, they were singing Brigadoon. Yeah. I don't know how I got married and had a kid. I don't know. I am unwell from the time I'm 8.
I have never met your father. I know. But I love him.
You would have, and you know,
oh my God,
he passed away so young. You know, we used to say that the Milo family, his side, he was one of 13. He'd been a performer since he was 5 years old in New York. Really great childhood career. And he was this great ball of spirit, but all of his family were well, I would say 8/10 of them were gone in their 60s from diabetes and heart disease, which was, you know, familial. They all had it. They all didn't take, you know, we didn't have meters. You had to put a litmus paper on your, so it was while I had him, and we were all of us, all 4 of us, my 4 siblings, they all got to say goodbye in their own way. But I got the most special, which was, do you remember that day? And I'm thinking, oh my God, what are we talking about? There were so many. Was it you teaching all 8 residents to sing Brigadoon at a Hello Dolly musical? Was it asking a date of mine to pull your finger?
Oh no.
I just, right? I don't, telling me in a fit of rage that I had a face for radio. I don't know what it was. Because he wanted me to be a lawyer, and I said I was going to be a singer, and I did really well as a singer, guys. I was on Broadway and Dreamgirls. In the original company. I've done off Broadway. I've done a lot of local theater. I've had a great career, and it was tough for him, whose heart was broken. And you have to remember, back in the 40s and 50s, women who were in the industry were all drug addicts and nutcases, and he just didn't want that for me. He said, "You have such a big brain." And I was like, "Yeah, don't you think that with this big brain I could beat the system? Like I'll be okay, because I'll know what a lemon is,
Right. Yeah.
I'll know what it is." And I think he just worried, but God, you would have loved him. He was gone at 65
Oh, wow.
years old.
Yeah.
I was, in 84, I was like 23 years old, 24 years old. And that was the last of it. Remember that day? I'm like, yeah, they're burned into my memories. I go to therapy because of that day. All of the that days I go to therapy. And I will tell you one thing that he used to do. And then I'm sorry, I know we're so over time. Sorry,
No,
John.
you're good.
So my dad, when he would be hot and bothered, if the waiter or a waitress was not like hopping at it, he'd look at me and go, they tell you about this one right here. And my sisters and brothers and I would just go from that to this, like, oh my God, he's going to get on the roll. He's going to start telling dirty jokes or put down jokes. Oh my God. So we would be extra nice to the waitress. And then my older brother would do this, like, hurry it up, because we've already heard. Did they tell you? They tell you about this one? They tell you about that lipstick? They tell you about this one? And I'd be like, I just, I don't know, walk on eggshells. I don't know. But the longer the days go by, the more I miss him. And the stronger I became because of him. And as he used to tell our guys, we had one lady and all the rest men, I teach you how to tell a joke so that you don't become one. And that was his main
I like that.
goal.
Nice.
That was his.
That's a good one.
And that's what I think is the goal in life, is that we were just trying to get everybody to blend in so that nobody beat the hell out of them, or jump them, because this was a time when they were supposed to be hidden away. They weren't supposed to be in the public. This was terrible. Yeah. Medicate them. Yeah. Please stop it. Yeah. But all right, so I've pontificated. So the book is either called Surviving the Odd, or it's called Halfway Home. And it won't be re-released until I can really re-edit it and put in some great new photos and do it the way I felt it should have been done in the first place. But yeah, I'd be a writer. I'd be a writer. Yeah.
I like it.
That
okay.
is.
Well, we'll look
Would you buy my other books? Would you buy the other books? Love in the Time of Klonopin?
I would honestly buy that one just for the title.
Why, thank you. And I Should Be Dead by Now is my favorite, because it is all the reasons. It's me when I was 17, wanting to audition in LA and taking Highway 5 in Los Angeles, which is a 2-lane, 2 on each side, all countryside, from San Jose to Los Angeles by myself. After work, I would leave San Jose at 9 p.m. driving a Volkswagen Rabbit diesel, driving to LA. Yeah, nobody would kill you then. Not the freeway killers, not the hillside strangler.
No, you'll be fine.
Nobody. I was fine. I should be dead by now. I should be arriving at my uncle's house at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. My little car chugging in. Dedication or mental illness, one or the other. Same thing.
Or just a glorious combination of both.
Dude, that is what makes a horse race. Am I right? How boring would we be if we were all freaking politicians? Boring!
No, thank you.
No, do people tell you look like Steven Spielberg? Laugh. That's funny, Steven.
I'm just imagining you going up to Steven Spielberg and just be like, laugh!
Laugh!
Oh my God.
Love it.
I do.
Speaking of laughs and speaking of ridiculous questions.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes. So we got one ridiculous and then the silly. So 2 of my favorite shows growing up, Shock Zone and Mucha Lucha.
Oh my God, 2 great shows.
So here's my question. You have Snap and the Flea. It is their job to save the world. How screwed are we?
Oh, no, not very, because Snap would do it because that was his job, to figure it the hell out. Once he figured out that the Flea was a moron, he'd be able to do it. But the Flea, the first thing about the Flea is he's a coward. That's what he said. Ricochet, I'm behind you 100%. As a matter of fact, I'm way behind you. Orale. It's that you would, and I'll tell you who would probably end up saving the world would have been Reggie Bullnard, who is a bully at Chalkzone, that also voiced Reggie Bullnard, and he would probably inexplicably and accidentally save the world. It would be fine. It would be okay.
There'd be like a shut-off switch that they'd sit on or something.
And that he would do it to hurt Rudy Tabuti, and then it would end up saving the world. So through hate and stupidity, Reggie Bullnard would save the world. It would be fine.
Fantastic.
That's fantastic. Yes. I'm so happy right now.
All right, Candi, here is the
Snap and then sudden switch to the Flea. I don't.
And I also did Mama, and I did the headmistress on Mucha Lucha. So it's just like, talk about reading against yourself. No, you took a special childhood. That's all I'm going to say. Special childhood.
Love it. All right, here's the silly question, Candi.
Yes.
It's not even all that silly, but we like to. The reason why we asked this is there's actually a third member to our insanity. Her name is Kathleen. Kathleen wasn't able to be here tonight. But she has a little 5-year-old daughter who got asked this question, and Kathleen couldn't understand why this question doesn't get asked of adults. And that question is, Candi Milo, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, it has to be a Stegosaurus. It has to be a Stegosaurus because it has armor, but it still looks hot.
That's a very, let's call it, unique answer.
Yeah. It has armor, but it still looks hot.
I don't think anyone has ever said something like,
but it still looks hot. It takes its time walking. Well, no, it'll charge. I keep forgetting. See, I have a little second cousin that is like 3 or 4 years old. He can name you any dinosaur. He's touched. Yeah. He's brilliant. He's touched, and he's absolutely brilliant. And I learned everything about them when he said, "How fast do you think this one can run?" And then, of course, I had to check him on TikTok, and he was absolutely right about everything. And I kind of just related to the Stegosaurus because it just is big and heavy. It's had enough of life, but it still looks cute. And still kick your butt because it's got armor. That is it.
All right.
And I don't know why people don't ask that of adults.
Right? It's rude.
Yes. What is your favorite dinosaur?
You ask one, you ask everybody. You make the rounds. So
yeah, and you think T-Rex, everybody says that. Brontosaurus, what did they call him in Jurassic Park? Vegisaurus. No. Stegosaurus. I don't know. That's my answer. I'm sticking to it. That is it.
It's the borification of being an adult is they just stop asking you ridiculous questions.
They stop asking you questions that you really want to answer. Like how's your morning going? My morning's my morning's going okay. I didn't do anything today. I didn't have any auditions. I did them last night. I went and had lunch with my friends. It's 107 degrees. It's 107 degrees here.
No, thank you.
No. And I think that in Las Vegas, it's 107 degrees. In Las Vegas, I think it's 114. September is the hottest month in Los Angeles. And then we'll still have heat in October. And then all of a sudden it'll be winter. It'll go from summer to winter for like 5 weeks. We'll get drenched with rain. Then it'll be summer again in December and January. And then in February, it'll rain until April. But that's okay.
That was kind of the same here.
Yeah, we need the rain.
It was 80 degrees for a month straight. And now it's been 50 degrees and raining
Yeah.
almost all of August.
And I do want to say I love Alaska. I do love it. I love Alaska. I used to sing on cruise ships, and I always took the inland route because the passengers back in the day were so old that I only had to do like 4 songs before half of the audience was asleep. I'll be here all week. Drum right there. John right there. That'll be a good drum thing right there.
Do you want to know something really terrible that we say here? Because we get at least 6 cruise ships a day, which is roughly 25,000 people per day.
Oh my God.
It's but what we say, the people that are on those ships are either newlywed, overfed, or nearly dead.
And it's true. And it's absolutely, back in the late 70s, early 80s, when I got a job as a guest entertainer, it was Princess Cruises, and what was on TV? Mm-hmm. The Love Boat, and everybody we would sing that. But Princess Cruises had exclusive access to the Inland Passage, so you had one cruise ship in your cities: Juneau, Sitka, like the 3 major cities. We didn't do Anchorage, but the 3 major cities once a week. And then it would stop for 6 weeks, and then you'd come back. But I did like Alaska because I got seasick, so I wasn't long for Princess Cruises. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, they're still kicking, and I think we get 1 a day now. So
now it's so cheap. Now it's so cheap to cruise that nobody wants to do it because it's. But back then it was like $5,000 per person. Back in the early 80s, late 70s, that's like 20,000 per person. And so we'd
saved up for your lifetime, and this is the one chance you got.
This was the cruise that you took when you both retired, before you both discovered you had diseases that would be putting you in the Screen Actors Guild home.
I will say one more kind of funny joke before we fully wrap up. One of the best things that I love to hear from the cruise people as they get off the ship. They get off the ship and they look up at the mountains and they go, "What's the elevation?" It's like, you see the water that's within arm's reach. You were at sea level.
Right. My favorite thing would be, do we have any requests from the audience? I'm like 19 years old asking for requests. I don't know anything but my act. I don't know anything. I'm like, please say Somewhere Over the Rainbow, because I know that in 3 different keys. Please say that. And I would call in an elderly gentleman and I'd say, "Yes, sir. What would you like to hear?" "Where are we right now? Where are we right now?" And I'm like, do I look like I run the fucking ship? I don't run the ship. I'm an entertainer. I'm in a white jumpsuit. I weigh 7 pounds. I have all rock tunes. I'm going to hurt your ears. You'll all complain, and half of you will be asleep in 15 minutes. So I don't know. Where are we right now?
You're both in the ocean.
Right.
Do I look like a GPS?
Right. And all I could say was hit it. It would be, "Don't sleep in the subway, darling. Don't sleep." Let's just start a song before I go Stegosaurus on you.
And with that, Candi, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yay!
This has honestly been one of the best interviews that we've had in a while, or at least in my opinion.
I know.
Lie
to me.
Oh, there's not a single lie in this, but where can our listeners go and find more about you and more about your work?
I have a website. It's not been updated in a while. But also I'm on TikTok as Candi Milo, Candi with an I, and I am on Instagram, and I'm pretty active on both of those. I don't like Twitter because I think it's mean, and I think it's gotten incredibly it's incredibly negative. It's incredibly dangerous. So I don't like it. I don't recommend anybody doing it. I think Twitter just is there to hurt everybody's feelings daily. But I am on TikTok. Please come join me. And I am about to start a YouTube series on voice acting. I'm just kind of roughing it out and pulling it together
Okay.
now, but I wanted to talk about tips and tricks that I use, and how to really, because I'm script forward, how to pull apart a script, how to look when you get your audition, what to look for and that. And I think I'm going to do an 8-part, like short, like 10-minute little tips and tricks, but I have to figure out how I want to do it. But that's basically it. I do have a YouTube channel, but I have nothing up on it. It just comes up blank, but that's it. And then please tell everybody that in January to look for my book, because I think it's not only funny, but I think it's important for everybody to understand how we got here today and things that we might do to alleviate anybody else's suffering.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure to put all those in the links below.
Groovy. Thank you.
This has been absolutely fantastic.
This was so fun. Thank you for staying after me, Tim. I'm so sorry that it was, for a great deal after I saw you, I know you're going to sign off. So hopefully, John, you won't do this, but firing people and hiring attorneys and doing all that stuff.
Sounds like you've had quite the year. So
yeah. So, getting it all back, I'm a little out of practice and of getting back. But when I was getting between 120 to 300 emails a day of like, we can't get a hold of this person. You can't get your rights back. I need another $4,000. It was like one of those where I went, I can't read any emails. I can't, it's not making sense. And then I am, the health thing and all of that, that's all behind me. And I think it'll be a little bit more smooth sailing from here on out. I think but I thank you for staying after me, because this was really fun. Good. And I just like chatting with you guys. You're awfully fun to talk to. Some people are not very good at this, and it makes it very hard on me because I'm carrying the comedy weight, and I'm carrying the "did you want to ask me anything else" kind of thing.
Is there anything else you'd like to know about this? How about that?
Yeah. Or it's like
fun if you got to carry both sides.
Like, or me saying before they go live, who is your audience? And what do you think they're interested in hearing about? Because I've lived a very full life. I can talk about anything, and I can also BS with the best of them.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, guys, if you haven't figured out yet, Candi Milo is pretty freaking awesome. So if you haven't gone and checked out her socials yet, those will be down in the show notes down below. Please make sure that you go check her out, follow her on all her socials. But if you haven't already as well, click that like and subscribe button here, because that helps us to get more amazing guests like Candi Milo to come on the show and have these great conversations and these absurdly funny moments for you to be able to listen to. And I hope that you guys were laughing and wiping tears out of your eyes like I was, because this was a lot of fun for me. So make sure you guys go check out Candi's work, and we're just, again, thrilled to have her. So guys, that's going to conclude us today for the FSF podcast. And tip your waiters, and John, one more rim shot and go.
I'll be here all week. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Try the veal.